Pile on the fact that we live in an outrage-fueled media landscape that I do not contribute to. I'm a fucking Zen master. Fucking Zen master. All right, let's get to the topic I've always been afraid to talk about. The time I woke up in bed next to a wild boar. When he showed up, though, he was just a boar. Later, he was a wild boar. But that's actually not the topic I want to talk about. Here it is. Why does every comedy show have to have 10 minutes on transgender people? Why is that the only topic in the world? War, climate crisis, genocide, extreme poverty, forced migration, slave labor, racism, prison states. No. Forget all that. That guy's sex chromosomes don't align with his gender identity. Demons be gone. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. Why does that person have on a dress and chest hair? Oh, dear God. Seriously, why is that the only topic? Why? There are kids getting hit with missiles around the world right now. There are psychopaths running governments. There are AI programs studying how to delete humanity. There are majestic species of glow-in-the-dark fish lizard things that are going extinct right now. But comedians, the social critics of our time, that's what we're told, right? The social critics of our time can only talk about gender identity. That's it. That's the most important thing. It'd be like if you were a fireman and you only put out sparklers. You know, you refused to help with anything else. There's a firefighter, help, there's a child stuck in a burning building. No, sorry, ma'am. I only handle snap and pops. Here's what I think. A lot of the confusion stems from this. Sex and gender are two different words, and those two different words mean, wait for it, two different things. What? No way. How could different words mean different things? It is so confusing. I need my Nana and a warm hot cocoa stat. Look, sex is defined by the chromosomes that you're born with. XX means you're a male. XY means you're a female. Gender, the word, is a mental image, a mental identity of who you are. And yes, it's also biological. It's how the neurons interact inside your brain ball. But it's not the same as sex. Again, and I can't stress this enough, two different words that mean different things. Like the word hedgehog and the word psoriasis. Different words. Totally different things. One of the main reasons people can't seem to grasp this concept is because in over 99% of humans on Earth, sex and gender align, right? They are essentially the same. It is true that most people who have male sex chromosomes also have a male gender identity in their brain and vice versa for females. And when anything in this world is true for 99% of us, that 99% of people like to pretend that that's just the way it is and that's the way it should be. For example, estimates are that 1% of people are asexual, not interested in sexual intercourse at all. 1% of people. But when most of us hear that, we tend to think, oh, come on. You want a little bit of dick or vagina. You want something. Just a little. Just a little. You want a little. Come over to my place. I'm really good at it. You'll totally like what I got. You'll totally be into that. This one you'll like. We can't accept that 1% of people could be different from the rest of us. The confusion with transgenderism gets even worse because we do use the same words, male and female or man and woman, to describe both sex and gender. A lot of people on this planet are not very bright and can't accept all of these tricky terminology things. And most of those people are apparently male comedians. The rest are over roughly 90 years old. But those of us who are not confused by this can take comfort in the fact that this is how humanity progresses. Not so long ago, it was quite normal for a big portion of our society to lose their goddamn minds over men having intercourse with other men. Do you remember that? Oh my God. It was mocked. It was called disgusting and unhinged and perverted. We created all kinds of myths about it. We were told gay sex was part of satanic cults and they were coming for your kids, and it was mostly done behind the windmill at the putt-putt course. We were terrified. The society was horrified. What happened, though, during my lifetime, we realized that thinking those things was super, what's the word? Dumb. And people should be able to love who they love. And sure enough, back then, there were a lot of comedians doing jokes about how gross it was to be gay. Sam Kinison, who was one of the biggest comedians of the 1980s, playing whole arenas, he had jokes about how he heard in the news gay men dig up dead bodies in the graveyard just to f the corpse, because that's clearly true, right? That's, how could that not be true? R.I.P. Sam Kinison, the Edward R. Murrow of comedy. But as the memory of Sam Kinison fades, the legend of his buddy, or former buddy, Bill Hicks, only grows. When Kinison died, he was one of the biggest comedians in the world. And now, few comics mention him as an influence. Some do, but not a lot. When Hicks died, he was only really well known in Britain. And now, a ton of comics across the world say he's one of the greatest to ever do it, or say he was a big influence. Why? Because Hicks talked about advancing society, becoming more accepting, being anti-war, seeing through the bullshit. Kinison was a purveyor of bullshit, even though he was an amazing performer, no doubt. A lot of people who are wrong are great performers. Most of our presidents, for example, and Larry the Cable Guy. But we've seen this again and again in comedy. The comedians who feed into punching down, discrimination, bigotry, they tend to slowly fade away in the discussion of comedy, like Amos and Andy. The comedians who analyze our culture to get past the hate, past the discrimination, often cement their legacy, like Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Big Bird. But back to the topic of transgender people. It's another problem. The power of insecurity. When you feel insecure about something, it tends to have a much more powerful hold on you. This is why I get a little jittery, I have to admit, whenever someone brings up the topic of big nipples. Mine are the appropriate size for my body. I had them tested with one of those mail order kits. Okay? Things you're insecure about can have a hold on you. If you're a heterosexual man who's insecure about your sexuality, then being around gay men can be very disconcerting. You're afraid at any moment you could, go to spit out your gum and then accidentally find yourself sucking and loving it. It's happened a million times. So for a certain segment of the population, they respond to this fear, this insecurity, by being very angry and belligerent toward gay men. And when a comedian makes a joke about those crazy and disgusting gay guys, which was common before roughly 2005, the audience laughed uproariously because the joke acts as a release valve for their insecurities. And back then, even those who didn't find it funny in the live audience often laughed because it showed they were with the in crowd, right? They aren't gay themselves. I'm with everybody else. God forbid someone think I'm gay. Luckily, we're now past those backwards times in our history. Somewhat. We're kind of past those times. Unless you watch one of the roast shows on Netflix. Otherwise, we're past those times. But we're still in that place when it comes to transgender people. They make certain people feel very insecure, uncertain of their own identity in our culture. And it's even easier to beat up on transgender people than gay people because they're less than 1% of society, a tiny portion of society. Plus, pile on the fact that we live in an outrage-fueled media landscape that I do not contribute to. I do not get angry about things. I'm a fucking Zen master. Anyway, moving on. Because outrage gets more clicks, apparently Dave Chappelle, Ricky Gervais, Joe Rogan, etc., only feel they'll get articles written about their comedy specials if they go after transgender people. Of course, if you ask me personally, I think they'd also get a few write-ups if they threw in some jokes mentioning the side in Gaza, but what do I know? Clearly, I have not taken the path of least resistance. Let's talk about one more part of this confusion. Gender identity is not a social construct. Okay? Sorry. I know liberals like to say that. It's neurological. It's in your brain. Saying it's a social construct makes it sound like a transgender woman could move to another community and then identify as a man, which is not true. However, gender roles are definitely a social construct. There's no natural, permanent rule that women have to wear dresses and enjoy scented candles, or men have to like tinkering with diesel engines and yelling during football games. Come on, you got to catch that. You have one job. There is nothing that says it should be that way. Many of these, so nothing in the natural environment in the world, many of these gender roles hold true for a certain percentage of the time because of how we are socialized. If you grew up in a uncontacted, secluded tribe somewhere where only the men were the sole keepers of the holy and sacred cinnamon bun scented candles, then it would be absolutely normal and expected for the men to be interested in scented candles. That gender role is a social construct, but gender identity itself is not. And this is why the incredibly hack joke that you've probably heard 37 different versions of, where the comedian goes, well, if you can identify as a woman, then I identify as a monkey or a table. This is why it's so ridiculously stupid. There is exactly 0 humans on this planet who have the neurological feeling that they are a monkey or a table. Exactly 0 neurons are wired that way. Whereas there are plenty of people whose gender identity does not align with their sex chromosomes. And the idiot comedian then responds, when you say that, they respond, I saw a video of a guy who said he was a monkey. What you saw was a video of either someone extremely mentally ill, which is a different thing, or more likely you saw someone who enjoys pretending to act like a monkey. Yes, we can all act like just about anything we want. My 2-year-old likes to pretend he's an airplane, but gender identity for anyone is not pretending. It's not acting. People can't stop feeling their gender identity when you yell, it's dinner time, like my son does when he stops being an airplane. Chicken nuggets are ready. Oh, wow. Chicken nuggets are ready. I no longer feel that I'm a woman deep in my soul. All it took was some chicken nuggets. All this time, if someone had just told me. Okay, I hope this helped. I hope my fellow comedians can start either getting this right or try talking about something else that you understand better. Something that doesn't encourage punching down at a people who are already struggling for their right to exist in this society.